Hello everyone, Mr. Shirk here from Norfolk State Army ROTC. Thank you for joining us. Today in this video we're going to talk about the Army ROTC enrollment forms, how to fill them out, common questions that we get as students are filling them out. So we mean for this to be a resource to help you as you fill out the forms and get ready to enter the ROTC program. This video is geared towards incoming freshmen and transfer students, anyone who is entering the ROTC program for the first time. So at this point you should have already signed up for your military science leadership class and lab, and then the next step is to get this paperwork together to enroll in the program. You can find these forms on our website, www.nsu.edu/ArmyROTC/forms. You'll see a banner at the top that says enrollment forms, and that's where you can download them and fill them out. These are the 5 forms that are required to enroll in the Army ROTC program. And in addition to the forms, we also need a copy of your birth certificate and your social security card. Now, just a couple notes before we get started. Please, we ask that you do not send these to us once you fill them out, that you don't send them, you don't email us these forms. We ask that you print them out and bring them to your first day of class. You can either give them to your instructor or you can find me, give them to me, but please do not send them to us in an email, as some of these forms contain PII and we don't want to expose any of your information by putting it over the internet. The other note is that one question we get a lot is, am I signing up for the Army by filling out these forms or by enrolling in the ROTC program? No. These forms are only enroll you in the ROTC program, which is an elective course at Norfolk State. These forms are to be able to enroll you, make you eligible to get uniforms and equipment, and compete for scholarships, and be covered if you are injured at one of our training events, and all kinds of things. But they do not enlist you. They do not contract you. You are not making any sort of commitment to the Army that would require a military service obligation, anything like that. The ROTC program is an elective curriculum. You can take it for the first 2 years and just check it out and see if you like it without having to contract or commit to the Army. All right, so let's jump right in. The first form we're going to go over is the 139R, the Cadet Application and Enrollment Record. And so I'm just going to, the way that this is going to work, I'm just going to go through the form and briefly, explain it and hit some of the areas where that trip people up, or people have questions and stuff. If I don't answer a question that you have in this video, feel free to reach out to me, contact me, and I'd be happy to explain to you. I'd be happy to answer your question. Okay, so the 139R, the top part of this is just your basic contact information, your name, first name, last name, first name, middle initial, your social security number, college ID number, your campus email, and then block 5 you get your local address. So if you live on campus, this would be 700 Park Avenue, Norfolk, Virginia 23504. Okay. If you're a commuter student, then this would be where you're living in the local area where you're commuting from. Block 6 is your local phone number. Block 7 is your permanent address. So this is where you live when you're not at school. And so if you are a commuter student, these may be the same, but the permanent address is where do you go home when you're not at school. Where's your home of record? And again, a phone number for that if you have a different one, or if it's the same as your local phone number, you can put the same number here. DOB stands for date of birth. POB stands for place of birth, so city and state, where were you born. Your religious preference, if you have one, so Christianity or Islam, or no preference at all, you fill that in right here. And then blood type. And so a lot of people don't know their blood types, and that's okay. You can leave that blank. In fact, anything on here that you don't know the answer to, you can leave blank for now. So blood type, ACT score, SAT score, it's okay to leave those blank if you don't know them. Sex, your height and weight are approximate, so approximately how many inches, how tall are you in inches, and approximate weight. Your marital status, single, married, divorced. Dependents, this is a yes or no question if you have dependents, and if so, how many. your race or ethnicity, and citizenship. Not just are you a U.S. citizen or not a U.S. citizen, but how did you become a U.S. citizen? Were you born in the United States, naturalized, born overseas to parents who are U.S. citizens, so on and so forth. That's the top block, part 1. I guess this is also part 1. Questions 22 through 25. Do you have any condition that could interfere with participating in a normal college physical education course? So that's a yes or no question, and explain if yes. If you have really bad asthma or some condition that would come up when you're doing normal exercise, this is where you would disclose that. And have you ever received medical disability payments from any source? No or yes or no, and please explain. Next of kin, 26. So what we mean by next of kin is, who do you want us to contact if something were to happen to you at one of our training events? If you got hurt and had to go to the hospital, who do you want us to call to let know? Is that your mother, father, or aunt, or someone that is your guardian? This is where you would put their name. And also in this block, we ask that you put their relationship to you. So if it's your father or your mother, or etc., their name and their relationship to you. Block 24A is their address, which may be, if it's the same as your permanent address, you can just put same as above, and then their phone number. Make sure you put their phone number in there, not your phone number, because if you're injured and we need to call them, we don't want your cell phone ringing. We want to actually call your next of kin. ROTC host school is Norfolk State University. The FICE code is 003765. And then the school of attendance and FICE code is the same, Norfolk State University 003765. The reason for this is that some schools, you might attend one school and go to ROTC at another. If they have a crosstown partnership, we are what's called a host school. So the ROTC program is here at Norfolk State. This is where your classes and labs are, so it's the same. Residency status is in-state or out-of-state. Academic class, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. I'm just typing these as like examples, so if you go back and watch this video, you can see what those are. Projected graduation date, when you expect to graduate from Norfolk State, your academic major, minor if you have one, credits toward degree completed if you have any, if you're like a transfer student or coming in as a sophomore, this is where you put those in, total required for your degree, your college GPA if you have one, other colleges attended, years attended, high school attended, graduation date from high school, and did you receive an ROTC scholarship? If yes, what type? 3-year, 4-year, that sort of thing. Block 38, do you have any other scholarships? If you have an academic scholarship or an athletic scholarship, this is where you put that in. And then JROTC experience, we like to hear what branch you did and how many years. So if you did 3 years Navy, it'd be Navy 3 or whatever, just so we know what kind of experience with JROTC you have. JROTC experience is not required to join the ROTC program, by the way. That's another question we get. Part 3 only applies if you are in, or at one time served in the military. So if you're in the Guard or Reserve, that's where you're going to fill all this out. If you were prior service, you fill this out. But if you have no military experience, you're just going to check on not applicable and go to the next part. All right, so page 2, and for the 139R, you only have to do page 1 and 2. Page 2 is a whole bunch of policies. And so I'm not going to read these word for word, but I'm going to explain to you what these mean. And like I said, if you have any questions about any of this stuff, you can contact me after at some point. The first one, Block 42, release of information. Basically, as an Army ROTC cadet, if you were to drop out of our program for some reason, let's say, for example, after the first semester, you can't pay for college anymore, and so you drop out of Norfolk State. We are allowed to give your contact information over to Army recruiters, and they can call you or email you and tell you about opportunities with the Reserves and National Guard and active duty that would help you to be able to get back into school eventually, or either next semester or later. So you are under no obligation to talk to them or return their phone calls or emails. This is just simply the policy that you're acknowledging. So you're going to initial that block. And for all of these, some of them you're just initialing that the policy exists and that you understand it, and others there's places for you to put what applies to you. So that's true of this next box, Block 43, Statement of Criminal Proceedings by Civil or Military Authorities. What this big long paragraph says, basically, if you have a squeaky clean record, have never been arrested, have never been charged with a crime, you would initial this first block. The above statement is true. If you've ever been convicted of a crime, also including if you have a ticket, a traffic ticket where the fine was more than $250, like a reckless driving ticket or a drunk driving ticket, or if you have a bunch of tickets, 6 or more over the past year, or 12 or more over the past 3 years, where the fines were all more than $100. If any of those things are true about you, you're going to initial this block and explain. The above statement is not true, and explain. This includes if you were convicted of something when you were a minor and your records were expunged, sealed, set aside, dismissed, or original findings or pleas changed, you still need to disclose it on this form. The reason for all of this is because as an ROTC cadet, if you stick around and you meet the requirements to contract, you say, hey, I want to finish this program out and become an officer, and you contract, they're going to do a background check on you, and in order for you to get a secret security clearance. And so when they do that background check, anything that's in your record is going to come up. And it doesn't mean that you can't be an officer. It just means that we may need to do a waiver for you, a civil conviction waiver, to be approved in order for you to continue on the program and become an officer. So we ask that you disclose this at the beginning, and so we know if we need to do a waiver for you or not. Sometimes I've had students not disclose something because their lawyer told them it was going to be expunged and there's no reason to ever tell anybody about stuff ever again, and you still need to, in that situation, you still need to disclose it for the sake of not having any issues when you apply for your secret security clearance. Block 44, substance abuse. There's three options. I've never used an illegal substance or drug. I have used illegal substances or drugs, but only on a limited or experimental basis. If so, when and how often? And I have been a recent or frequent user of illegal substances or drugs. Again, when and how often? The reason for this is that drugs are not tolerated. Drug use is not tolerated in the Army. Readiness is a big issue, and we do a lot of dangerous things, and we need people to have clear minds and not be using drugs. And so we ask that you disclose this at the beginning. Again, if you use drugs in high school or something like that, or try them, it doesn't mean you can't be an officer. Excuse me. It just means depending on how close you've used it to the time that you'd be contracting, you may need a waiver, or you might have to wait to be able to contract. Religious accommodation. Essentially, the Army cannot guarantee that all your religious practices can be accommodated. You're just acknowledging that policy that you understand. And then conscientious objection. What a conscientious objector is someone whose moral or religious convictions prevent them from bearing firearms, training on firearms, which we will. It doesn't matter what kind of officer you are. It doesn't matter if you're infantry or finance or signal or whatever. We're going to issue you a weapon and teach you how to use it to be able to defend yourself. And so there's two choices. I am not a conscientious objector, or I am a conscientious objector, and if so, please explain here. 2 signatures at the bottom. This first signature just says that everything is true and accurate to the best of your knowledge on the first 2 pages. And then there's the loyalty oath. You can sign this when you do your enrollment paperwork. You don't have to sign it when you do your enrollment paperwork. You do have to sign it before you contract, but signing it at the beginning when you're just turning in your paperwork does not contract you or enlist you or obligate you to military service. You're just saying you believe in this, you acknowledge this oath. And that is it for the 139R, just the first 2 pages. You don't have to do the last 4, those are for us. So that's the long one, and then we'll go over the other 4 forms here. So the next one is your the 136R. This is your briefing on government-sponsored benefits. Okay. So as an Army ROTC cadet, if you were to get hurt at one of our training exercises, you trip and break your ankle at PT and need to go to the ER, the Army can pay for your medical expenses related to that injury. You just have to come back to campus, keep all your receipts, submit a workman's comp claim through the HRA, and the Army can pay for your medical expenses. Now, what this does not mean is that you have insurance, health insurance, by becoming an ROTC cadet. If you trip and fall and break your ankle just walking across campus from class to class or something like that, then the Army will not pay for that. But if it was in connection to one of our training events, the Army will pay for your expenses. You're just going to date, sign, and print your name on this form. The next one is your 137-R, CC Form 137-R, authorization/declination for access to student records. As an ROTC cadet, we need access to your student records to be able to pull your schedule, pull your transcripts, make sure you're you're in line to graduate and you're taking the right classes, all that sort of thing. And so all ROTC cadets are required to fill out part 1, this part here, your name, school's name, parent's name, sign and date. This part 2 down here, declination of parental access to student records. Sometimes parents call in and they ask, how's my cadet doing? What's their GPA? Those sort of questions. If you don't care if we release information to him, you can just leave this blank. But if you do care, if you don't want us to do that, then you can fill it out, and we won't release any information to your parents, unless you're still claimed as a dependent on their IRS or on their tax form. So then it's bound by different rules. The next thing is the DD Form 2005, Privacy Act information, healthcare records. Essentially, as an ROTC cadet, we are going to have and maintain healthcare information on you. You'll take a physical before you contract, and then you take another one before you commission. And so we'll maintain those in your cadet file here. And if you end up graduating and commissioning through the program, those will become the start of your military medical records. And if not, if you walk away at some point from the ROTC program, those records get destroyed. We're required to hold on to them for a certain amount of time, and then they're destroyed. For this form, you're going to just sign, put your social security number, and date. All right, and lastly, we're almost done. Medical fitness statement for enrollment in the basic course Senior ROTC, the DA Form 3425-R. This form is required in order for you to be able to conduct physical training with us. And the thing that's different about this form is it's not signed by you, it's signed by a doctor. So you take it to your doctor and you get them to sign it, stating that you are physically healthy enough to participate in a normal college physical education program. So that so that you can do physical training with us. There's a couple different ways that you can do this. You can either take this form to your doctor and have them sign it, or if you had to complete a college physical to come to Norfolk State, or a sports physical for Norfolk State, you can give us a copy of that paperwork, and that will take the place of this. If you've already turned it in, you can go to the Spartan Health Clinic and say, hey, I'm an Army ROTC cadet, I need a copy of my college physical, and they'd be happy to give that to you. So you can give us the form, you can bring in a college physical or a sports physical, or the last option is if you are a enlisted soldier in the Reserves or National Guard and went to MEPS within a year, you can bring us your MEPS physical, and we can use that to make you qualified to be able to come to PT. So one of those 3 methods. Again, if you have any questions about it, feel free to reach out. So that's all the forms, and then like I said, a copy of your birth certificate and a copy of your social security card. bring them to your class, the first week of class, turn them into your instructor. Please, please, please do not send them to us over email. And I hope that this video has been helpful. If you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to me via phone or email, or you can talk to your MSL instructor, and we'd be happy to get you squared away. That's it for now. Have a great day.